Chhavi is going to tell us now what happens when an MBA gives up her corporate career to go become a village sarpanch. Beat that.
Namaskar, everyone. I'm not going to talk about the village, but I will share with you a theory that I call the Big Bang Theory. Not the one that you see on TV, but that which I recently experienced in reality that landed me in the hospital bruised, and my unofficial consultant, my father, down with a head injury. That is the picture that you can see. What you cannot see is their target is yours truly. What we were doing was, overseeing the construction of a public building meant to assist villagers in earning daily wages through the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. It is a central government project, mind you, not a project that my council or the panchayat demanded. But what it required was for us, the panchayat members, to execute the project, and that is exactly what we're doing. The system that is supposed to assist you in the work of development has only tried to break me in very many ways in the past 4.5 years that I have been the sarpanch, which highlights Nitin's point. Every step that I have taken forward, the system has done its very best to push me back at least 10 to 20 steps behind. In spite of which, here I am standing in front of you as still the elected head of my panchayat. Thank you. While this may sound like my personal story, which of course it obviously is, but it is symbolic of all that goes wrong in the countryside. Why? Again, highlighting what Nitin said, because the system unfortunately refuses to often recognize institutions as institutions, but instead tends to personalize everything. So if I were to give you my example, they forget to see me as a sarpanch of a panchayat, an institution of the government itself. Instead, they get into these, for lack of a better word, I'd say it's the egos which come to play in every sector, be it in the sector of the government, development, in the offices that you work. Unfortunately, what flips the coin to turn things the ugly way is nothing but the egos that come in. And in that sense, it is the personalization of an aspect which should actually, or rather one needs to move away from. How we do that is the question that I'm going to put forth to you, to the people who are in the government, anywhere across the world. How do you change those mindsets? Because I believe unless until those mindsets are not changed, the development that we wish to see in our own country will not see its way through. However, as I said, in spite of the Big Bang that I witnessed just only recently, the other thing that I personally feel that makes you find your way through is, of course, patience and perseverance. And even though this project was stalled by the block-level officials for a span of nearly 4 years, this is where it is at. In fact, as of today, it has seen completion. Thank you. The previous slide, if any of you noticed, you saw the shredded pieces of cloth on the table. That, by the way, is the map that the block-level officials and the district-level officials kind of look at whenever they're trying to sort out any kind of land-related dispute. Now, if that is the kind of stuff you use in the 21st century, we know exactly what kind of solutions they'll be able to provide. We know exactly what kind of justice they will be able to provide to the people who suffer because of people who are richer, because of people who have the political power, people who have the muscle power, and because of that, those who are poor, those who are not that influential or have the network, end up suffering. And I think that's, again, one of the biggest drawbacks that we have at the grassroots, the fact that there is no clear structure or a methodology. And as we heard Ravi mention yesterday, our government is not managed well. And I think that is what provides a space to people like you to come in any form that you possibly can, to bring in that knowledge and help the government do its work, because from what I understand, it has the intention to do so. But because of scale, because of the number of people that everybody keeps talking about, they think that is our biggest challenge, but I don't think so. If rightfully utilized and channelized, those very people can become our biggest asset. But how do we do that is the question where we need smart men and women like you to come forward and help with. I will just quickly go through some of the other challenges that villages face. Now, this is a typical, well, not a typical, of course, break the stereotype, but the other team members, this is my panchayat, elected representatives. We are 12 of us. There's my grandfather in the picture who's not part of the team. Thank you. Out of the 12 of us, 8 are women. Courtesy, if any of you have read the recent attempt at empowering women. Now, if you're empowering women, or anyone for that matter, I think the term empowerment is very loosely used. How do you empower someone by just giving him or her a designation? You do not. Unless and until you don't provide them the required assistance, the training, let us know what kind of schemes exist, what budgets exist, how do we deal with the hindrances that the system itself puts forth in front of us. Unless and until that doesn't happen, unless and until that support system doesn't fall in place, you're not empowering any of us. And while I may be educated, it doesn't mean I'm smart. It doesn't mean I have all the answers. We need to learn to work together, and I think that's another failure that Indians by and large have. And I'm saying that in spite of being a proud Indian, I think we do not really know how to work together, and that is another hurdle that we need to learn to overcome. The reason I'm showing this picture is because, as I said, these are women and men who take up the role of governance at the grassroots. But these are people who struggle to make ends meet on a daily basis. The only source of income for them is agriculture. That is the beautiful harvest. As you can see, what kind of money does it fetch them? I leave it to you to imagine. In my area, agriculture depends on rainfall to irrigate the land because all groundwater in my village has been declared unsafe, even for the purpose of irrigation. Let me also point out the fact that because of that, we have a very high percentage of Down syndrome in my village because people have no choice but to drink that naturally contaminated water. So these are the people who are going to govern the system. How are they going to manage to do so? With a meager honorarium, a sarpanch like me, again, it varies from state to state. In Rajasthan, it is now 3,500 rupees a month. Do I get to recruit an intern or an assistant? No way. For the other punch members in my team, up until the recent elections, it was only 75 rupees for attending one meeting, and in a month you get to attend 2 meetings. As of now, it has been revised to 200 rupees per meeting, which means 400 rupees a month. How do they survive when they still continue to live in joint families? What kind of battles do you fight on a daily basis? How can you expect them to put in the time and effort that is required? And mind you, at the grassroots, it is a 24/7 job. Every day is a Monday. You start at 6 a.m. with people pouring into your house with their issues, and depending on when they let you free, your day will end accordingly. So what I'm trying to just portray through my own experience is the fact that you are, at this level, constantly fighting against challenges posed by the bureaucracy, against corruption that is deeply entrenched in the system. And corruption doesn't just mean siphoning off of money. I'm using it in a very generic way. And if you try and challenge it, that is when it will suddenly wake up to keep its one promise of crushing you as much as it possibly can. And in cases such as mine, because I'm not the only one who's doing what I'm trying to do in my village, there are many others who are doing their own bit in their own way. We have an additional layer to that challenge, which is that of working against the insecurities of the local as well as state-level politicians. And if I may just point out, that project which was told, which is named after a certain party leader, was stalled courtesy the influence of a very senior leader from that party itself. So that is the kind of stuff you deal with when we're working or trying to do your bit in development in the rural sector. Therefore, what you then need to continue to stand tall and stand strong is a plan B, and in my case, I noticed you even needed to have a plan C. While I may have portrayed to you a very dismal figure, there is hope. And it's courtesy these plans that I spoke about, it's courtesy support from people such as yourselves that we have been able to find some support. And however, I would like to also point out that it's not been easy, given the cynicism and the high levels of distrust that exists. But given the fact that I'm an eternal optimist and that I believe in the goodness of people, I think that is what has helped me continue to fight and stand up against the odds that my job poses me. This is just one example that I'm going to show to you. This is the reservoir, which covers 100 acres. We don't have safe drinking water. When I got elected in 2010, the government had declared it as a drought-hit zone. So we had very critical issues. Government couldn't support the project because even though we're in the 21st century, the government prohibits, at least the state government prohibits usage of machinery in the rural sector for rural development, which came as a bit of a shock to me. However, I did not get disappointed. I thought, fine. I have worked in the corporate sector. There's the corporate social responsibility funding, which I thought would easily come through. But again, I was mistaken, because when I tried to tap companies which have provided and continue to provide their services and products in the rural sector, they unfortunately turned around and said that your village does not fall in the close proximity of a plant or unit, hence, sorry, we cannot support you. Therefore, plan C, which meant turning to my own family. And I think that was perhaps the only time that I was a little disheartened, because monsoons were about to arrive. I had been running from pillar to post from Feb 2010 till May, end of May, and I had not received the support. So my father said, don't you worry, we'll help you. And my father and his friends put together 20 lakhs of rupees. And with that, we desilted the blue portion. That's 10 acres of the 100 acres. It may sound like a drop in the ocean, but that was the first time in many, many, many years that the village saw rainwater conserved up until the next monsoons. Otherwise, our reservoirs run dry by January. So this is what we did. That is a photograph taken in January of 2010. Thank you. And I will try and wrap up quickly. And that is what the reservoir looks like now. We also got support from Coke only this year. A gentleman who heard me speak about the same issue over 3 different years said, I cannot promise, but I will try. And just this year, that funding came through. But anyway, I'm not going to go through this. Now, the question that you might want to ask is, in spite of all these challenges, in spite of being attacked, and yes, at certain levels, I'm aware that my life could be at stake, which we heard Ruchira speak about. Anyone who's trying to work in the development sector, trying to do something different, there will be opposition. As we know, there's always resistance to change. But I do believe someone needs to take that step forward. Someone has to try. We need to start somewhere. And what really keeps me going is children like Maya, who I believe have the right to a better future, who have right to that respect and dignity that you all, and even if I had kids, I would want for my own children. So why not them? And I just wish to do whatever I possibly can to ensure that children like her get a better future. They get to go to school, and more importantly, they they just get the opportunity to at least be a child first, which you do not get to see when you interact with children from remote villages. If you look into their eyes, all you see is emptiness. No dream, no aspirations, no knowing what to expect next. So that is my driving force. And I'll just end by saying that I would like for you all to help, not just me. Whoever you can help in whatever capacity you possibly can, please come forward to do so. Because unless and until we, the people, do not wake up to participate in the role of development, we are going to get left far behind. And the graph in India, and I can say from my personal experience living in urban as well as rural sector, it is dipping and dipping very fast. And when politicians, I would like to recommend to you, when they come to the diaspora for support, do please remember to ask them about their blueprint for rural India. Because let's not forget that it is an integral part of developing a nation. And the countryside is India's crossroads. Without it, there is no India. Thank you for having me here.